One of the key advantages that we do have in the region in general and in Saudi in specific is that we have very young generation and they're really keen to deliver. And they're really brilliant minds out there. They see those kind of opportunities. So what we're trying to do in there is that to place the platform, show those case studies and connect them with the right people to help them achieve what they really wanted to achieve.
Welcome to The Feedback Loop, a Sino Global Capital podcast where we keep you in the loop about the most pressing issues in Web3 today. I'm your host, Mona Hamdy, a Harvard teaching fellow with 20 years of experience in nonprofit and sustainable development. I started using emerging technologies 15 years ago, working with remote peoples to create new economies based on the reversal of climate change. And today, I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Sino, where I hope to bring beneficial technologies to the most forgotten corners of this planet. Today, I am joined by Hattan Ahmed. He is the Entrepreneurship Collaboration Manager at KAUST. At the KAUST Entrepreneurship Center, it's sort of the hotbed and the epicenter of everything entrepreneurial, innovative, and technological in Saudi Arabia. It's been likened to the MIT or the Polytechnic Institute of the Middle East region, and I can't wait to talk to my startup co-founding, world-traveling, pioneering, frontier-pushing friend, Hattan. Hey, Hattan.
Ahlan, Kifik, how are you all doing? Good to be here. Thanks for hosting, Mona.
Thanks for joining. I'm so excited to talk to you. I know you just got back from a whirlwind tour around the planet. You were just in the States and you got to meet with a lot of your peers, right? How does that work? You are this, everybody refers to KAUST, right? When they talk about our region and when they talk about people doing things that are innovative and technological and on the frontier, they always talk about KAUST.
Yeah, so it was a really great journey meeting fellow travelers, as you mentioned earlier on. And it's always great to get inspired and learn and connect. Because we believe like entrepreneurship is a team sport and we need to connect to the hot zones and the really active nodes across the globe to learn and integrate and explore the potential collaboration activities. So it was really, really great at multiple points at UC Berkeley in California or at Austin, Texas, where we got really engaged with a lot of the great stuff that is happening in the Austin area. And for me personally, I see Austin's story is very inspiring story to emerge this nice ecosystem in the south of the states, and they build it out of nothing, and they really managed to attract some heavyweight kind of caliber candidates within the area and build that really vibrant ecosystem, not only on the private and public, let's say, the private and the startup world kind of thing, but also they brought in amazing engagement from the government sector and DoD and DARPA. They have really strong presence and active transactions and activities happening into that space, including SBA, where basically in the conference they were talking about the deployment in terms of the grant-based funding into those areas in order to stimulate the entrepreneurial and innovative activities into it. So our relationship goes like really long way back with a lot of those nodes like UT Austin and other UC Berkeley and other areas that really like goes back all the way to the research collaboration activities at the foundation years
about
of
petroleum,
KAUST.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
about petroleum and a lot of other
Saudi and Texas. This
yeah, exactly.
nation of Texas. Yeah.
Exactly. And the synergy between the two economies are really, really interesting, where basically there's really nice overlap between the two. So there is a lot of areas of overlaps. And now we're taking it to the next level where we really wanted to get engaged as well with the entrepreneurial activities and connect the nodes at different points. So UT Austin, we were engaged with them recently with the female empowerment program where we work with female founders from Saudi, and then they had an in-grad program at KAUST, and then they went over to Austin to get immersed into the ecosystem and really interesting leads that took out from those engagements. So we live in this global village where basically interconnectivity between key nodes are really important. And that's essential part of what we do. We want to build those kind of connectivity from different parts of the world.
I love that because, like I said, everyone, since my days in Saudi Arabia, everyone would look at KAUST as that sort of shining beacon. And I know the heart of things that are innovative happening in the kingdom. And I know that the heart of that is the Destination Deep Tech program. It's just around what you're doing with deep tech in the kingdom and at KAUST. How does that play into this?
Exactly. Beautiful. Thank you very much, Mona. So basically, Destination Deep Tech is one of the offering that we do in the mission that we're trying to create in terms of creating high quality deal flow for the ecosystem. And the edge that we really have a kind of advantage on, which is basically, let's say, leveraging the infrastructure, the talent pool, the connectivity in those areas. And we do this kind of mission or deliver in those two missions on two key programs. One is Taqaddam, which is you're familiar with, an accelerator program. It's in partnership with Saudi British Bank. It's been running for 6 years and we try to cultivate homegrown startups. We opened up during the pandemic to international ones and we doubled down in terms of the intake and the funding capability that we have into the program. But Destination Deep Tech, it works on the other end where basically we work to attract deep tech startups who are interested to grow and expand in Saudi Arabia and the region, leveraging the infrastructure, talent pool, and the connectivity, and the vibrant ecosystem in Riyadh and the industrial connectivity as well in Riyadh, in order to grow and move forward with it. We started this as an experiment last year, and we started with 5 startups, and the goal was to have one of them to set up shop within the country. And then towards the end of the program, 5 of them, they decided to set up shop. And actually, they do research collaboration. They had KAUST talent, and they did also kind of industrial transaction with different players. One of them, a company is called Pascal out of France. They're doing quantum computing. And basically, they're using quantum computing as a platform to deploy for energy and oil and gas applications. So they're having those kind of different kind of applications or area. Another company out of Singapore, they're doing high performance concrete and they are deploying into the vibrant construction like industry that is happening into the country. Now we're running it for the second time and we're doubling down into the intake. And now we're going through the selection process and amazing talent, amazing technology, great, remarkable founders who are really keen to meet and work with.
That's really interesting to me. I'm always, because I love it so much, I'm always really sort of gently critical of the region and saying that I can't wait till we go from being consumers to creators, right? To really being more than the market and to being the place of makers and founders. What are you seeing in terms of how that ecosystem is changing and how does it fit into deep tech? I mean, are you looking at blockchain? Are you looking at AI? If there's a founder out there who wants to consider coming to Saudi Arabia, how does this deep tech program help them?
The key alignment that we try to create here is with KAUST Research Trust. And we do have 6 key research trusts that we do have at KAUST that is focused on key areas such as the global challenges such as water, food, energy, environment, and recently added like the digital that includes AI, cybersecurity, and machine learning, and also, let's say, bioscience related activities and computational bioscience that are health related sectors and so on. So those are the areas that we have the bandwidth in terms of the know-how, the faculty members, the research power, and the infrastructure that supports those activities. And also, we integrate with the Vision 2030 objectives and targets. And in there is really wide array of activities. And of course, sustainability, for example, it's big on top on the agenda of the university and the kingdom with such initiatives like the Saudi Green Initiative. And we work with different internal partners within the country, such as the Future Investment Initiative, where we have really strong alignment on a lot of sustainability factors that are happening in there. The opportunity for the founders is that to connect, let's say, with, let's say, key players in those areas in terms of research and networking and those kind of activities, but at the same time to connect to different industrial partners, especially if the deployment, the market, the opportunities are happening to be in Saudi and the region. Because we have a lot of unique advantages in here in terms of a lot of the resources that are available and the specific geographies and the landscape that we do have into it as a great opportunity for those technologies that you really wanted to, let's say, explore and stress test in those kind of environment where those kind of environments are best to grow in and grow and scale as you move forward. In addition, with the alignment with a lot of the industrial initiatives like SABIC and Aramco and all different players that are really paying attention to those kind of sustainability-driven initiatives, and then they can leverage that in order to grow and, let's say, achieve their future goals within the country.
So the program is, I know it's hosted by the center within the university, but it almost acts the way that certain market regulators might in facilitating some of that stand-up of that business in the country. Is that right?
Well, what we try to do in here, we just create a nice kind of landing pad for international startups with deep technologies who are at the cusp of growing outside of their, let's say, geography. And they see Saudi and MENA as the first market they want to go into international. So we look at this kind of, let's say, transition point in their journey, and those are the best fit for the program to get the best use of it. And the idea is that they get soft landed, they get connected, they get introduced to the key people based on their interest, and then off they go. They hit the ground running in their journey.
That's pretty enticing. I know everyone wants to be in the region these days, so I hope it comes to fruition. I'm sure it will. How about the local founders? Let's say you go the other way, because I know part of what you do at KAUST almost and at the center almost acts like a tech transfer office, or has an affiliation that would look a little bit like bringing an idea, through that sort of MIT definition of what innovation is, like taking the invention and scaling it all the way through. How does that work?
The Destination Deep Tech program is focused on kind of an inbounding, let's say, startups and deal flow, right?
Right.
But then we do have another program. It's called Taqaddam, which is an accelerator program in partnership with Saudi British Bank that is focused onto the outbound activities. So we work with KAUST research outputs and activities that are happening, but also we work with different founders within the country and the region. So we do have a technology transfer office, and they have amazing programs that is focused on, let's say, translating low tier level activities that are happening within the research, like which is basically the raw research outputs, and then they try to scale it up to get it to industrial scale output and make it ready for the market. And from there, we work with them closely to cultivate those outcomes and convert it into new ventures whenever the possibility arises, or it could be turned into a licensing opportunity. And that's really complements all those kind of efforts to handle the output of the research powerhouse that is happening at KAUST, but also with very outward facing. And we work with other different universities, different institutions within the country and beyond in order to the acceleration program and get them ready towards the investment to create the impact they aspire to create. And that's our key driver. We really wanted to create an impact, make a difference, be a contributor to the changes and improvement of the key global challenges that we're facing today, starting with global warming to food scarcity to water challenges and all the things that the entire globe is getting stressed at. And we're really exploring how to innovate. And so back those founders, they are trying to unlock those opportunities and explore new lands.
Hattan, speaking of making an impact, one of the most remarkable statistics that I read recently about the impact of your office was, about community engagement. I read that the MOOC, the online course that you had offered, had a target of 50,000 enrollees by 2025, and you reached 100,000 Saudi youth in the first month and a half. What are they drinking? What's in the water in Saudi? What caused that? What is that?
So when we kind of set up this thing, and the idea started from using our, let's say, entrepreneurship curriculum that we provide for KAUST students as an elective course to complement their technical knowledge, and was part of our strategic initiatives at KAUST is that to produce kind of an online learning course in Arabic language in order to provide such interactive experience, digital experience for the users online. We published an edX last year, and we were targeting to hit 10,000 learners in the first year. And in the first year, we had 105,000 learners. And that was kind of a really positively surprising and astonishing in a very good way, where we understand the kind of the thirst and the need and the appetite that is happening into the industry. Our primary target was to, let's say, attract undergraduate students within the college system within the country. But then we picked up a lot of professionals from corporate, government, nonprofit, all different kind of sectors not only within Saudi, but we overspill to a lot of adjacent countries, Arabic-speaking countries. And not only within main cities within Saudi, but also we reach out to a lot of smaller towns within the country. And that was like really, really inspiring. And the feedback and the engagement you get is really overwhelming in a very positive way. And that shows the appetite and the need for such great content into it. So now we're transforming this into something completely different, which is basically using this as a platform where we can engage the adventurers, as we call them, because we call the course as a entrepreneurship adventure, and it was published on edX platform. And we tried to kind of, let's say, simulate that as a journey they go through to explore the unknown or reach their new heights or whatever they wanted to achieve in their areas. And we connect with them throughout the journey on weekly webinars during the programs. We bring in some different kind of keynote speakers, case studies, founders share their successes and experiences and all that kind of stuff in order to provide really interactive in as much as possible way and drive for greater results into it. So now we're taking it to complete, and you want to use that platform to help them achieve their goals that they're trying to achieve. But I think there is so much potential, and this is kind of an open invitation for everybody to contribute and help those kind of founders on their journeys moving forward. So we use that to feed into the system that we do have into the center in order to curate and create the best kind of talent, best startups into the programming that we create. So it's part of a comprehensive system that we're trying to create that feeds into each other to produce some really great outcomes towards the end of the process.
You're a serial entrepreneur. I know you've done this. This is not your first rodeo. So you yourself have not done it just one time. You've done it a few. I mean, that in and of itself, the Arabic, tell me about what the language access did and where you see, for example, this deep tech program or exposing the region to what is out there in Arabic and then vice versa, that inbound and outbound.
I believe creativity and entrepreneurship and innovation best kind of transmitted during speaking to people with their native language and their native tongue language. And this is what we notice even in terms of the appetite and the traction that we create into it, because you speak to their mind, you get engaged heavily into it, and they see kind of like-minded people. And this is what we try to do, bring in local and regional case studies to showcase that this is happening here, this is happening on the ground, this is happening next door. And they get the choice to create the impact that they can create, whatever they are. That's kind of one of the key learnings that we do. And that's one of the things that we really pushed ourselves to go to in order to communicate in the kind of mother tongue language with the audiences that we wanted to reach out to. And it seems like it's working out really well, and we're really keen to double down into that and move forward with it as there is kind of more appetite, and we're creating that kind of a constant feedback loop to get them engaged and be even deployed in different platforms such as academic institutions or corporate organizations. One of the key advantages that we do have in the region in general and in Saudi in specific is that we have very young generation, and they're really keen to deliver. And they're really brilliant minds out there. They see those kind of opportunities. So what we're trying to do in there is that to place the platform, show those case studies, and connect them with the right people to help them achieve what they really wanted to achieve.
You know, there's a lot of opportunity in the region, and we have a few challenges that are sometimes daunting, I guess, to outsiders. How in your tenure, your position there at KAUST, have you seen the attitude or the access of our region to the West change? And where's that going?
So one thing I wanted to share about KAUST, which is basically the diversity. Yes, KAUST is a science and technology university focused on graduate studies, and it's more like a research kind of center that is focused on key challenging topics. But at the same time, something unique about it, it's really international in terms of the diversity of the institution. So at any point of time, we have more than 100 nationalities on campus. And that brings in a lot of different perspectives and a great integration in those kind of activities. And of course, that's by default already provided us like really great global connectivity from all over the world. And that's really a great advantage, because I believe diversity is a key component for innovation and creativity, because those different perspectives, those different backgrounds, they bring into the place that creates the ability to discover new areas and push the envelope into different directions as we move forward. And that's founded into the DNA of the institution. So when KAUST was kind of in the establishment phase in 2006 and 7, inaugurated in 2009, the global connectivity with different institutions who really believed in the vision and believed in the capability and the dream that wanted to be accomplished, that would really propelled KAUST with a strong foundation into it. And those ties, by the way, are still active until today. It helps put KAUST on a global map, and it really opens a lot of doors and difference. And I believe we really wanted to maintain that because we believe the globe is still a small village, and it's really important to connect to like-minded people for the greater good of humanity.
Oh, I love that. That sounds a lot like your mission-driven and conscious investing initiatives that you've been a spearhead of. I know I am an alum of a cohort of the Conscious Investment Fellowship, which was one of the brain trusts that came out of initiatives like yours. Tell me a little bit about that global village of conscious investors.
We do have at KAUST an investment arm, and we do invest into deep tech startups that is focused on those kind of areas in order to translate the research outputs into products. One of the stories that we do have at KAUST is called Ritzy Farms. And basically what they've done, the co-founders of Ritzy Farms, Professor Mark Tester, who's a plant scientist, a great plant scientist, Ryan Liefers, who is a PhD graduate from KAUST, who's a great engineer, developed this kind of desiccant cooling system. And they both came together and saw this opportunity where Mark was working on kind of solar tolerant crops, and they were focusing on different kind of high value crops. And Ryan was working on designing and building this kind of cooling system that used salt water. Okay, what about if we put the two together? And then they created this company called Ritzy Farms. And basically, it's a sustainable solution that really use kind of cooling system using saline water. Yeah, and also they use it for irrigation. They produce really high value crops. So now here at KAUST at the research park, they have like a 1,500 square meter of greenhouse that they deploy the technology, and they're feeding the community as well with some really delicious cherry tomato. Once you're here next time, we'll give you some samples to try, or you can purchase it yourself from the supermarket. But the real business is that with retrofitting existing greenhouses in the region in order to go in the mass production. So now they retrofitted already existing, let's say, greenhouses in Riyadh region, supplying Riyadh with 5 tons of cherry tomato every week. And they signed this great deal with Silal, where basically they are kind of like moving the technology forward into UAE, and they're building an industrial pilot as well in Arizona. There is good amount of funding, and they're really well on their way moving forward. So this story is just a sample of many on our belief on the impact investment. And that's really our key driver. So we're dual mission institution where we're focused on research excellence, but we're really driven to create an impact. And that impact can be in the form of licensing opportunities, into product development, into new ventures, into all different areas that can really serve and provide solutions for those global challenges. So this is what our key driver into it. And that's what really inspired us to start this program and find those people who are like-minded and they really believe into it. And of course, there's a lot of people that are doing great stuff into it. And there is a great amount of literature talks about, let's say, the sustainability of conscious investment, and actually the pandemic was a great kind of, let's say, case where sustainable kind of a conscious investment, they really survived through those kind of harsh conditions, or black swans, if you wanted to call them, in order to, let's say, survive through those kind of difficult times, whether it's recessions, global recessions, or whatever it is, that is really impacting it. And they have really higher tendency to provide better returns and have really sustainable returns on the investments moving forward. And that was our belief. So we started this thing with Venture Souk, and also with New York University in Abu Dhabi. We invited different investors from the region who are really a big believer in conscious investment. And what we're saying, just to clarify here and for the records, we're not saying we're discounting the importance of the financial returns, but the financial returns are really, really important in terms of the driver, yeah. But we have a higher cause of the investment and tackling some real big global challenges. And now actually there is big movement globally happening across the globe in order to address those challenges. The global warming is the biggest trigger towards that, because now I don't think anybody can argue that this is a theory rather than it's a fact. Last summer was a great example of all the implications coming out of it. And that's cascade to all different aspects in terms of food security or water scarcity or, let's say, environmental activities. And the list would go on and on and on those kind of really big issues that we're facing as a human being to sustain our presence and existence on this planet. So all those kind of activities focus into it. That's what's really our driver on the impact investment. And always we look for the fellow travelers and believers who are really keen to, let's say, join the movement and have this in mind and include the SDG factors into their investment thesis for greater impact. And by the way, sustainability is big on KAUST agenda, as I mentioned earlier. So it's really near and dear to our hearts.
For everyone, Hattan and I were in a cohort together. We both had investing and entrepreneurship and conscious investing behind us. And Hattan's final project was very beautiful. It had the EBITDA all laid out. It had his projections. Mine was a blockchain-based human factor authentication project called F the Robots. And I still stand by my project. But so tell me, Hattan's is beautiful. I think he won. He won. I didn't. But I think, anybody on Twitter with bots now might think that I should have gotten that, Hattan. But tell me, what about my industry? Where do you see our region being at the forefront of entrepreneurship and seeing everything that's happening? We hear talk coming out of Saudi about large digital twins, and metaverse is so big that the world doesn't have enough compute power for it yet. And we're looking at blockchain in terms of this underlying infrastructure that can reduce friction for the world. Where's our region going with these really, really forward-thinking technologies? And what do you think we will see in the coming little while?
There's a lot of activities happening into that space. And surprisingly enough, you'll see a lot of people as well, like they're really interested and keen and investing into those kind of spaces. Yeah. But in the region, and specifically in Saudi, like within KAUST, we do have a KAUST Smart initiative. And basically, this is a strategic initiative launched by our president. And the idea is that to deploy those new trendy technologies into use and use that as an experiment within KAUST as a living lab with controlled environments. So, for example, one of the examples that's been run is converting a car into autonomous vehicle. We deployed autonomous bus as a public transportation within campus, drone delivery for parcels and food. And one of the technologies being deployed is that blockchain deployment for a lot of different applications, whether it's kind of quality controls or currency exchange and all those kind of activities. And by the way, within the next 2 weeks, we will have a kind of a workshop or a kind of a mini summit, if you will. We'll invite different people where basically we're exploring the possibilities to explore and push the envelope into different areas as we move forward. If we kind of zoom out a little bit from KAUST, for example, look at what's happening even in the country. A lot of great movements are happening in Saudi. And actually, there's been appointment for a digital chief officer within the central bank within Saudi. And that's really was great news for us, where the country is like really paying attention to such deployment, to such technologies, and how this can impact the transformation for an entire industry. And this is really, really great news for all of us. We really wanted to deploy it. And I'm really proud of what's happening in terms of the financial elevation of the services that is happening within the financial sector in digital, where they're trying always to push the envelope and try new things in order to drive towards like cashless and really let's say, activities within the market and so on and so forth. And it's really interesting trends that are happening into those areas. So still yet more to come. And the good news is that there is a lot of activities happening within the ecosystem to explore those kind of the potential for those technologies to deploy it at all different applications.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to come back and see everything that you guys are doing at KAUST. What is unique about Saudi Arabia and the Saudi Arabian entrepreneurship ecosystem that you won't find anywhere else?
It's an emerging market. It's where the action is happening. There's great movements driven by the Vision 2030 and very ambitious and really kind of targets that we're trying to achieve in here. So that's opening the opportunities for a lot of people, local and international, to explore that. And that is all tapped with those amazing like mega projects that are happening across the kingdom in order to, let's say, deploy the latest and the greatest technologies that you can think of. And we're always thinking about how we can discover the unknown and push the limit on all different fronts in order to take it further into it. Last February, LEAP was taking place. It was an amazing show that really broke the global records in terms of participation and attendance. So it was attended by more than 100,000 people in a 3-day conference that has really global reach with a lot of international delegation and so on. So a lot of buzz, a lot of activities that are happening within the country. And with the transformation and the Vision 2030, revamping the entire industries by the government and the private sector is opening great opportunities for everybody. And I believe the pandemic and what's happening as well in the geopolitical situation, that is kind of, let's say, placing some playing fields for a lot of, let's say, industries as we move forward. So it is the opportunity to explore the new norms that we live in. It's a great ground to explore the potential for those opportunities.
What's your favorite, Balalit or Hineni?
Hanani.
Yes, Team Hineni. Always.
Always.
Where's the best place to get kabsa in Jeddah?
Ridan.
Al-Baik, yes or no?
Yes, of course.
Always. We are so grateful to know you, Hattan. I can't wait to come. I'm bringing all of the things we've translated about how to code and everything about blockchain. We put it all in Arabic. I'm bringing it to KAUST to share. I want to see the market grow through the region. And I'm really grateful that KAUST is taking such a proactive role in helping share our region with the world and bring the world to our region. Thank you so much, Hattan.
Thank you for having me. We would love to have you at any point of time. Hopefully, we're going to get into the reunion during the FII end of this month in 3 weeks. So really can't wait to meet and get the reunion of the great people that we had in the CIF. And we really look forward to have you at KAUST and spare us some time to come and visit us at KAUST towards the end of the month. Yeah.
I would love to. I'll bring blockchain and Hineni.
Yalla, okay, let's do it.
Come on. Thank you, Hattan. I'll talk to you soon. See you soon.
All right, take care.
Our time is up for now, but the conversation is still going. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at SinoGlobalCap, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and leave us your feedback so we can loop it into upcoming episodes.